Hello and welcome to graduate school at Cal State East Bay. We're happy that you chose to join us to further your education in one of our excellent graduate programs. This presentation is meant to serve as a general orientation for all our new graduate students and to provide pointers to campus resources. My name is Kevin Brown and I'm the Director of Graduate Studies here at Cal State East Bay. Let's start with a checklist of items important to you as Cal State East Bay students. I'd like to quickly go through some of the points and make sure that you've gotten them all taken care of so that you'll be able to successfully move forward and take your classes this semester. We'll talk a little bit about activating your net ID, about the My CSUEB website, Horizon email, financial aid, housing, and so on. Your net ID is one of the most important pieces of identification that you'll have here at Cal State East Bay because it allows you to access all the resources that we have on campus. It allows you to enroll for classes, receive your financial aid, and actually even participate in them through the Blackboard Learning Management System. Also to receive email through Horizon email and just about everything. So a net ID should already have been provided to you. If you have not yet activated your net ID, please use this web link to do so. Again, you'll be able to access all of these services. It's very, very important that you keep track of your net ID. The website that you'll use to take official actions regarding your relationship with the university is called My CSUEB. This is a portal that allows you to pay your fees, enroll in classes and drop classes, look at your unofficial transcript, and all manner of things like that. You'll use your net ID to log into My CSUEB. The instructions are shown here. You can go through the main Cal State East Bay website, click on Menu, and then click on the My CSUEB icon, and then log in with your net ID. At that point, you will be able to see if you have any holds that need to be cleared or if everything looks great and you can move forward. A second site that is important for you to be checking regularly is your Horizon email account. So this is an email account that's created for you by the university. This is your official way of communicating with the university. So if, for instance, financial aid needs to send you information, or your department needs to send you information, or I need to send you information, it will all go to your Horizon email account. So please make sure that you read it regularly, or at least forward it over to your personal email account that you do read regularly to make sure that you don't miss out on anything that needs to be done. You can access Horizon email through the main Cal State East Bay website, clicking on Menu, and then clicking on Email. Again, you'll log in with your net ID because that's what you use for everything. As far as financial aid and scholarships go, maybe you've already got some of that worked out, but in fact you can apply for more. The campus FAFSA priority deadline for federal aid is March 2nd, but we also have scholarships that are offered locally through Cal State East Bay through a site called Pioneer Scholarships. There are university-wide scholarships offered here, as well as scholarships offered to majors of specific departments. You'll apply for all of these through Pioneer Scholarships, so go take a look at them and see what the deadlines are and sign up for them. There are several other scholarships aimed at students who hope to become Cal State University faculty members. These are administered through my office, the Office of Graduate Studies, rather than Pioneer Scholarships. Please read about the programs on our website. In particular, start by taking a look at the Graduate Equity Fellowship Program. The deadline for applying for GEFs is in early May for awards that will be made next fall. I'll also be sending out messages about the programs to your Horizon email account, so keep an eye out for that. All right, as far as student housing goes, you may not need any housing right this minute because of all the current COVID restrictions, but if you're hoping to live near campus or on campus, you can fill out a housing application. Graduate students very often live off campus in apartments or other living arrangements, and the housing office can provide leads on apartment buildings or other housing that is near campus and explain to you how to rent a place and basically help you get that set up. So their contact information is listed right here. So I'm doing this very general orientation for all graduate students, but really your individual master programs are very, very different. They have different requirements and different timelines and different expectations. So your department should also be contacting you and providing you with program-specific orientation information. They'll be able to help you so that you're ready to get started, you know which classes to enroll in, you know when to take them, and all the rest of that. So please do contact your department for information. There is, for every program, a graduate coordinator. That's a faculty member who's meant to provide answers to you and counseling and advising and all the rest of that stuff about your actual degree requirements, what classes you're going to enroll in, and so on. You can see that there's a link here on the Grad Studies website where we maintain a directory of all the graduate coordinators for each program. So if you haven't heard from your graduate coordinator yet, contact them and say hi and say, I could really use some guidance about what I'll be doing this semester. The Center for International Education usually also does a separate orientation for international students. This orientation is more oriented towards explaining how things get done here in America as opposed to other countries. Please do contact the Center for International Education if you're an international student. All right, once you've got all that worked out, you've talked to your graduate coordinator and you know what classes you're going to take, you will want to register for classes. This means that you actually sign up for that particular class that you want to take for a given semester. As you might expect, you do all that through the My CSUEB site again. You log on to My CSUEB with your NetID and password, and then you can go in and search which courses are available and add yourself into those courses. Students are assigned registration windows during which time you're actually allowed to add classes. You can't just do it at any point in time. Your registration window is also available in My CSUEB. It will show you when you're allowed to register and when you're not allowed to register. Hopefully you'll be able to add all the classes that you want, but sometimes in programs that are a little bit more impacted, you may not be able to add the class immediately. Instead, you can add yourself to the wait list for the course. The wait lists here at Cal State East Bay work in this way. In the first week of classes, everyone is expected to attend their classes. We'll be doing that virtually for almost all of your classes this semester, but you do need to attend virtually. Some people will have added a class and find that they don't actually like it or they don't need it, and so they will drop the class, making room for students on the wait list. If someone drops a class in the first week, students on the wait list will be automatically rolled into the class in order. So the first person who drops makes room for the first person on the wait list, and so on. That is the case for most of the university, although I believe they do it a little bit differently in the business school. So you should contact the College of Business Office of Graduate Advising if you're in the business school. During the second week of classes, you may be able to add a course if the instructor agrees. Some instructors think that you've already missed out on so much, they don't want to add any extra people in at that point. If you do want to add in the second week, you will need to get the instructor's permission. You should contact your department and they'll have an add form that you can complete and then obtain the instructor's permission. Likely this would be done via email at this point. After the second week of class, you may not add classes anymore. By the end of the second week, you've now missed out on too much material and you won't be able to catch up and be successful in the class. You are able to drop classes from your schedule for the first 2 weeks through My CSUEB. So maybe you signed up for an extra class because you weren't sure which ones you really wanted to take. You can now go back in and drop the class you weren't interested in. After you add a class, one of the first things that will happen is that you'll be given permission to access the Blackboard site for that class. Blackboard is our learning management system here at Cal State East Bay, and it's the way that most of your professors will interact with you. They'll post your assignments there, the syllabus for the class, and any other materials will all be posted to the Blackboard site. So when you add a class, it takes about 24 hours for the system to update, and then you should go to Blackboard and confirm that you have access to each of your classes. Also make sure that you do attend the first day of class or contact your instructor on the first day. When we have in-person classes, it's often the policy for classes that are full, but the instructor will take roll and see who's there. And then if people choose not to attend the first day of class, they'll be dropped to make room for people who are on the wait list. Because we're going to be doing things virtually this semester, instead you should contact your instructor and find out how they're handling this sort of thing, because different departments may have different policies. If you are on the wait list, also make sure you contact the instructor. You don't want to just kind of wait until you eventually get into the class, because a lot of things are possibly happening during that time. There's lectures being given, assignments being given, and just because you're on the wait list and not in the class doesn't mean that you don't need to complete those assignments on time. So if you are on the wait list, you should contact the instructor and say, would you please send me the syllabus and any other materials that are being distributed in the first week or so until you're actually able to get into the class. That way you'll be all caught up and you won't be behind when you hopefully do get rolled in. Remember to contact your instructor whenever there's any kind of issue, whatever you're concerned about things. Don't wait until after the fact to tell them. Tell them right away so they can suggest how to deal with any problems. This slide shows how to access the Blackboard site. Again, you go to the Cal State East Bay main website, click on Menu, and then click on the Blackboard icon. And then you'll log in with your NetID and password. Once you're there, you'll see a listing for each of the classes that you're currently enrolled in, as well as Blackboard organizations. In particular, one organization that you will all be part of is called the All Grad Majors Organization, which is all graduate majors in the university. This is actually how I communicate with you. Whenever I have anything that I need to tell all the grad students in the university, I will send messages out and post them also on the Blackboard organization for all grad majors. So go take a look at it and see if there's anything fun and exciting there. All right, as I mentioned, if you decided that you signed up for too many classes or you just chose one that turned out to be something that you weren't interested in, you may drop the class in the first 2 weeks of class. You may or may not receive a full refund depending on what point you actually dropped the class. So do go and check the important dates link here to determine if you'll receive all your money back. Everybody likes that. After the second week of classes, you may not drop classes anymore. However, it may turn out that you run into some problems that may affect your ability to attend school. For instance, maybe you have a job and suddenly your job hours change, or you're no longer to keep up with the load that you have. Or maybe you have a family emergency or some other kind of circumstance that's keeping you from completing a course. You may, up to the 7th week of the semester, apply for withdrawal from a course. There's an online form that you can submit, and this will allow you to pull out of the class. You will receive a W in the class, which will be shown on your transcript. A W indicates that you did not complete the course, but is not calculated into your grade point average. If you receive a W in a course required by your major, you will need to sign up for it again in a later semester and pay for it again and start all the work from scratch. You do not get to keep the portion you completed already. So you don't want to withdraw from a class unless it's absolutely necessary. However, for graduate students in particular, we have a requirement. In fact, the whole CSU has a requirement that you must maintain at least a B average in order to graduate. So if you're actually doing very poorly in a class, first, please contact the instructor right away and say, are there any strategies you might suggest so that I can succeed in this class? Hopefully so. If not, if they say there's just no way to succeed, you're going to earn a D or an F in the class, then you should contact your graduate coordinator and determine if a withdrawal is the right way to go. If you end up earning a very low grade, like a D or an F, that brings your GPA down so low that it's actually extremely difficult to recover from. So anytime you think that you're kind of running into trouble, talk to your instructor, talk to your graduate coordinator. They are there to advise you and tell you what your best strategy is. One thing you absolutely do not want to do is to just stop attending a course and don't talk to anybody. If you do that, then the grade that you actually get is called an unauthorized withdrawal, or UW. An unauthorized withdrawal is nowhere near as good as a withdrawal. It actually does count for a grade. It counts the same as an F, which is 0 grade points for the class. And that's really bad. That will drop your GPA like a rock, and it'll be a very, very bad thing. So this is actually the grade that is given at any point when you stop attending right up until the final. So if you actually attend the entire class and then don't attend the final, the instructor is supposed to give you an unauthorized withdrawal. So you never want to do that. You always want to contact your instructor, contact your graduate coordinator. There are things that can be done even after 7th week so that they can ensure that you don't end in a situation where you have such a bad GPA that it's almost impossible for you to ever graduate. So please do keep track of this stuff. Keep track of when your final exams are so you don't miss them and so you don't end up with this kind of problem. All right, so there are a lot of student services available to you here on campus, even though, again, we're doing things virtually. There's a lot of good stuff. In particular, the Academic Advising and Career Education Center has some really good resources for graduate students. They can find you leads on internships, they can find you leads on on-campus jobs, and they hold career fairs so that you can interview for jobs when you graduate. I think a couple of the best services that they provide is that they have mock interviews to help you practice your interview skills before you go out and interview with a real company. They'll also take a look at your resume and help you kind of make it look nice and professional. So I suggest that you go over and talk to them at some point so they can help you out. Accessibility services is important for any of our students who may have documented disabilities. Please contact them. And then there's my office, the Office of Graduate Studies. We have information on various scholarships and graduate school fairs, completing theses, and some other issues related to academic probation and disqualification. We're happy to help you where we can. The Student Center for Academic Achievement is our university tutoring center. There's only so much support for graduate students, but actually many graduate students work over there as tutors, tutoring our undergraduate students in English and math because graduate students often have really good skills in those areas. If you're a veteran, we have Veteran Student Services, and we also have a Diversity and Inclusion Student Center. So most everything we've covered so far is basically the same for undergrads as grads. But I want to talk a little bit about what graduate education in the United States means. Graduate education is different than undergraduate education in at least these three big ways. For one thing, graduate programs provide you with an opportunity to focus very narrowly on your own discipline. So, you know, when you did your bachelor's, you took English and statistics and all various humanities and whatnot, and then eventually you concentrated on your major. You spent a lot of time taking general education classes. In your master's program, you will focus only on one discipline. You will take, in my case, all computer science classes and nothing else. So it actually gives you the opportunity to really get in there deep and actually build up your skills and really know your subject. That's a nice thing. Secondly, in graduate school, you tend to have a lot more individualized faculty attention. You're already lucky, typically coming here to Cal State East Bay, in that we tend to have very small classes, even for our undergrads, but our grad classes are even smaller. I know in my department, we top out at like 35 students in a class. When I was getting my bachelor's degree, I remember the first major class that I took had 600 people in it, and the smallest senior level class that I took had 110 students in it. I never spoke to any of my professors, essentially ever. You will now have the opportunity with a small class to talk to your faculty instructor all the time. You don't have to go through a TA. In a small class, you can ask questions in class. You can go to the instructor's office hours. I really suggest that you take the opportunity to talk to them, go to their office and talk to them and contact them if you have questions or interesting ideas. You know they'd love to talk to you about them. Lastly, some undergraduate programs have capstone experiences, but all of our graduate programs do. It is actually a requirement of the Cal State system. These capstones are ways of bringing all of your learning together into one very exciting and interesting culminating experience. So the capstone experiences we have at Cal State East Bay are theses and projects and comprehensive exams, and your program will offer at least one of these. There are a lot of policies and procedures that relate to graduate school, and they are all listed in the catalog. Here's the link to the catalog. This is the university's agreement with you. Our contract that says this is what's expected of you, but also what we guarantee to you. It's not as if maybe your program decides all of a sudden, oh, we want to add 3 more classes to the major. They cannot change the rules for you. Whatever catalog you come in under, that catalog that was in effect when you were admitted is the catalog and the rules that will actually be in effect when you graduate. So you don't have to worry about things changing, even though majors actually do typically change very often. The faculty members in your department are likely changing up the classes that need to be taken or the classes that are available and so on, but you get to stick with the catalog you have. So it'd be wise for you to take a quick look through it right now and see what's interesting in there. And actually all the policies in the catalog apply to you in some way or another, so it'd be good to know about them. In particular, one item in the catalog is this important dates section, which tells you, for instance, the last day to submit your thesis, when the holidays are, when exams are, and so on. This is actually a very good resource. Listed on this page are the requirements for a master's degree specified by the entire Cal State system. That's all 23 campuses. Your own program may have more stringent requirements than these, but these are the bare minimum. The nice thing for all of you is that you actually have already fulfilled the first requirement, which is the university writing skills requirement. Due to coronavirus issues, we actually can't provide the kind of testing that we've done before, so this requirement has been suspended for all students who are beginning in spring 2021. So you're done with that. Good job. As you go away through your degree, you will get to a point, which is dependent upon your program, where you're kind of ready to get into the capstone experience. So you're ready to start finishing things off. We call that being advanced to candidacy for the degree. So in order to get the master's degree, first you have to be advanced to candidacy. We'll talk about that in a moment. All master's degree in the Cal State system require at least 30 units. Your program may require more. Most of them are 30 units exactly, but make sure that you take a look in the catalog and see what your program requirements are, because that will also give you an idea about how long the program takes to complete. We have something called a currency requirement, which means that all of your classes have to be completed within 5 years of the time you finish your degree. So if you're hoping maybe to take 1 class a year for 10 years, that isn't something that CSU is willing to accept. I imagine the reason is that they think that you will have forgotten what you learned 10 years ago by the time you get the degree. In addition, a minimum of 70% of your classes have to be completed in residence. That just actually means that you're taking 70% of your classes here at Cal State East Bay after you've been admitted to the program. Conversely, that means that some of your units could be transferred in from another graduate program if you completed some units somewhere else and did not receive a degree there. It would be up to your graduate coordinator to decide if units may be transferred or not, so you can contact them about that. At least half of the units that you take here must be 600 level. 600 level is graduate level here at Cal State East Bay. Some programs actually say that exactly 50% are required, while some require more. In my program, computer science, we require that all the courses be 600 level. So do check in the catalog and talk to your graduate coordinator to see which courses you are able to take. As it says here, no lower division classes can be counted toward your degree, but junior and senior level classes can be counted if your program allows for it. Then one very, very important piece of this is that for all the classes that you applied towards your degree, you must earn a minimum of a C in each course. So if you have earned a C minus, a D plus, and so on down, those courses cannot be counted towards your degree, and you'll have to take them again if it's a required class. Some programs require higher grades as well. For instance, some programs actually require a B or better in all classes, so you should check to be sure. All right, this is probably stuff that you've seen before if you've gone to school in America, but let's just actually take a quick look at grading. These are policies that are also specified within the catalog. There are a number of administrative grading symbols that you might end up with. We already talked about the withdrawal and the unauthorized withdrawal. If something really terrible happens that is out of your control, you can talk to your instructor about asking for an incomplete. Unlike a withdrawal, where you don't get to keep any of the work you've completed, an incomplete actually allows you to take sort of a snapshot of how far you've gotten, and then later on, usually in the next semester, you're expected to finish the rest of the work. So incompletes are really only assigned if there are some circumstances out of your control, so you can talk to your instructor about that. If you're working on a thesis, often theses may take 2 or 3 semesters, and so if you've taken some units in the first semester and you're not done with the whole thesis, the instructor is requested to give you something called a report in progress, or an RP. And that grade will stay associated with the class until you finish the thesis, at which point the instructor will go back and switch it to a letter grade or a credit, depending on what your department does. This figure shows the rest of the grades, other than those administrative grades. So we grade A through F. Each of the grades has a number of grade points associated with it, where an A is a 4.0 and a B is a 3.0 and so on. As I mentioned, you have to have a B average or 3.0 GPA in order to graduate with your master's degree. It's very important. We see the grades that are marked in green. That's what you're looking for. And again, we said that the CSU allows grades of B minus, C plus, and C to be applied towards your degree if your program allows it, but you will need to balance those out so that your GPA is still at least 3.0. Any grades of C minus or below cannot be applied to your degree at all, and also will gravely affect your GPA, which is a big problem. Some classes may be set up so that they don't use a letter grade. Instead, they use a credit or no credit. Almost all degree courses must be taken for a letter grade, but sometimes a comprehensive exam or fieldwork class may be taken credit, no credit. You should talk to your graduate coordinator if you have questions. Just in case you haven't seen this sort of thing before, your GPA is calculated each term that you're here, each semester that you're here. To calculate your GPA, you would take the grade that you've earned in a course, say a B+. Then you would convert that grade into the number of grade points for B+, which is 3.3, multiply that by the number of units for the course, and then add that up across all the courses you took for that semester. And finally, divide by the number of units total for that semester. That will give you a GPA for the semester, 3.1 in this case. The university calculates several different GPAs for each student. We just calculated a term GPA, the GPA for one term or one semester. More important than the term GPA is your cumulative GPA. That's your GPA calculated across all the classes you've taken the entire time you've been here at Cal State East Bay. So you multiply each term GPA by the number of units attempted in that term, sum them, and then divide by the total number of units across all the terms. Your term and cumulative GPAs are available on your unofficial transcript, which is available through My CSUEB. All right, why is your cumulative GPA important? It is used by the university to make 2 decisions. If you are struggling and you're not able to maintain a cumulative GPA of 3.0, the first semester that your cumulative GPA drops below 3.0, you will be placed on academic probation. In this case, we're kind of watching over you, and your graduate coordinator should be talking to you, giving you strategies on how to improve your GPA so that you can be successful in the program. If your cumulative GPA remains below 3.0 for a second semester in a row, you will be academically disqualified. Essentially, this is dismissal from the university and your program. You're basically expelled. So we never want that to happen. Whenever things are starting to look dire, please talk to your graduate coordinator, talk to your instructors about how you may remedy this situation and get back on track so that you can successfully complete your degree. There's one other GPA that usually you don't actually have to think about. It's called your graduate GPA. The graduate GPA is calculated in the same way as your cumulative GPA, but it only includes classes that you're actually applying towards the degree. So some students will come in and they have to take like 5 or 6 prerequisite classes or other kinds of classes like English classes and so on. Since those courses aren't typically applied towards your degree, they're not included in your graduate GPA. You really want both the cumulative and graduate GPAs to be better than 3.0, but it is required that your graduate GPA be 3.0 or better in order to graduate. Sometimes students don't earn the grades that they think they should have because they maybe had some problems in class. Maybe you thought that the grade you received was unfair. Unfair is a little bit different than bad though, right? Your instructor is required to give you a syllabus at the beginning of each semester. Syllabus says, these are the assignments that are going to be required of you throughout the semester, and this is how much each of those assignments is worth. So maybe you have 20% for homework assignments and 20% for exams and 20% for participation and so on. So if you complete all those assignments but do poorly in all of them, you would end up with a poor grade. But that isn't unfair. If the instructor followed the syllabus and graded consistently across all the students, then you just may have earned a poor grade. But maybe they actually threw in a couple extra assignments or didn't give you the assignments that they said they were going to, or changed up the way the proportions of your grade were calculated. At that point, you could say, hey, that doesn't seem fair. You told me this is how the class was going to work, and it didn't work that way, or you didn't grade consistently across all students. That would be considered unfair. So how do you deal with that? Well, just in general, you should always go to your instructor first and tell them that you have a concern. Do this before the end of the class, before you get your final grade. Ask them how you're doing throughout the semester and keep track of how well you're doing so you actually make sure you end up with the grade that you're looking for. If you think things are not being done correctly, contact your instructor and say, I have some concerns here. Please explain to me how you're grading. Can you help me earn a better grade? If your instructor is unwilling or unable to provide an answer that is acceptable, the next thing to do is go to your department chair. Your department chair can then discuss the problem with the instructor. If your department chair can't resolve the issue, then you can go to the associate dean of the college, who will then talk to the department chair and your instructor. In general, though, only the instructor can change a grade once it has been assigned. Neither the department chair nor the dean can change a grade. There is one other entity, though, that can change the grade, and that's the University Grade Appeal and Academic Grievance Committee. I urge you to never let things get to this point. This committee is a great committee. It includes faculty and students, and the way it works is kind of like a little court. You would go and present your side, and your instructor would come in and present their side, and then the committee would vote. And they would decide if they believe your grade was assigned unfairly or that in fact the syllabus was followed and you were assigned the grade that you earned. The reason you don't want it to get to this point is that it's a very long process. It takes at least maybe like 6 months, and it's also very stressful. You really want to kind of get in there and talk to your instructor right away so you end up with the grade that you're hoping for. Anyway, this is the policy in case you need it. All right, we talked already about the fact that a student will be placed on academic probation if their cumulative GPA falls below 3.0. Should this happen, what you need to do is bring your cumulative GPA back up to 3.0 or higher in the next semester. Specifically, you need to earn a term GPA of 3.0 or better each semester while you're on probation. So say your cumulative GPA went down to 2.5 and then you got a 2.9, you might be saying, oh, well, I'm raising it, but that's not good enough. You have to earn 3.0 or better to remain on academic probation. Otherwise, in that second semester of academic probation, the student will be academically disqualified or expelled from the university. This is particularly an issue for international students because once you're dismissed from the university, your visa is no longer valid. If this is the case for you, whether you're international or not, please immediately contact your graduate coordinator and work out a plan and think about how you can actually raise your GPA back to 3.0 or better such that you can be reinstated into the program. Any student is allowed to take classes through a program called Open University. In that case, you're not really actually considered an official student of the university, but any person in the public can take classes through the Open University system. So you can take a few classes through Open University, show that you can do really well, and then when you apply for reinstatement to your program, your request should be approved. The Center for International Education has a specific program for international students called the American Language Program that can provide an interim visa so that disqualified students can stay in the country while they're taking courses to raise their GPA. So that's great. If more than 2 semesters pass after you're disqualified, you can no longer be reinstated. Instead, you must reapply to the university. So you want to take care of this as quickly as possible. So one of the main reasons, unfortunately, that we see people being put on academic probation or academically disqualified is because they get very poor grades due to instances of academic dishonesty. These come through my office, so unfortunately, I get to see them. The 2 main actions that we think of as academic dishonesty are cheating and plagiarism. So cheating is when you give your work to somebody else and they hand it in, or you hand in somebody else's work and you put your name on the front of it, even though it's actually somebody else's. Plagiarism is the same kind of thing. You're taking documents or information off the internet or out of books or whatever, and you stick it in your paper, and then you put your name on it, and you don't attribute that work to somebody else. There are many other types of academic dishonesty as well. They are all described in great detail in the catalog. So please go look there and make sure that you are familiar with the definition. Talk to your instructor whenever you have an assignment and ask, is this an independent assignment or can I work with somebody else? How do you want me to cite the material that I'm taking from other places? So you don't actually end up in a situation where the instructor must file an academic dishonesty report. When an academic dishonesty report is filed, your instructor has a few choices. The choices that are usually made here are to adjust the grade for the assignment. Typically, the adjustment is to 0, so you get a 0 on the assignment. If it's a big assignment, like a final term paper or something like that, worth 30% of your grade, that's not a good thing. If it's a very, very important assignment, or maybe the final exam, many instructors will instead adjust the grade in the course to an F. You don't want that to happen. So be very careful that you understand what academic dishonesty is and that you avoid it by being very careful to talk with your instructor and find out what you're supposed to do. All right, while you are all new students, and this is an orientation, I mentioned before that after you've got maybe a year into your degree program, after you've finished a certain amount of work, you will actually be able to be advanced to candidacy. This means that you've got a plan on how to finish things off. You can ask your department to fill out this form called an Advancement to Candidacy form and file it with the registrar's office. Each program has different rules regarding when to file, so you can see your program description in the catalog or contact your graduate coordinator for more details. I mentioned that there are several different capstone experiences, and the ones that we have available here at Cal State East Bay include 2 types of theses. There are university theses and departmental theses. Really, they are roughly the same, except that the format of the university thesis is determined by the university. You'll submit your thesis to my office, the Office of Graduate Studies, and we have a thesis editor that will go through and make sure everything looks just exactly the way it's supposed to. Because of that extra step, there are earlier deadlines for submission of university theses. For both types of thesis, you're going to do the same sort of work, which is original research, and both types of thesis will be published in the university library in our online archival system. Typically, a somewhat smaller capstone experience is a project. These are meant to be completed in 1 semester, and usually they don't need to be new research. Instead, they could be proof of concept projects or projects where you're actually doing something similar to what other people have done already, but doing it in your own way. The final type of capstone is a comprehensive exam, where you might have a test on all the material from all the classes that you took during your graduate career. All right, when you are eligible to graduate, you will apply for graduation online via, surprise, surprise, my CSUEB. You can log on there and indicate the semester that you plan to complete your last program requirements and graduate. This sometimes trips people up, though, because the deadline for applying for graduation is the semester before you intend to graduate. So if you want to graduate at the end of spring semester 2022, you will need to actually apply for graduation during fall semester 2021. A lot of people think, oh, I would apply in the same semester that I'm graduating, but that's not how it works. So please look at the registrar's link here for important dates so that you make sure you apply at the right time. If it turns out you were a little bit too optimistic and you didn't actually finish all your program requirements by the end of the semester you said you plan to graduate, you can ask the registrar to push out your graduation to the next semester. You won't have to pay the graduation filing fee again, so that's nice. When you do apply for graduation, that action will cause a message to be sent to your department, and they will put together a document called a grad check or major check. Your department will list all the classes you've taken that are being used to fulfill program requirements and all the grades that you earned and calculate your graduate GPA. All of this will be sent to the registrar's office so that they can verify that you have done everything you need to do and that you're ready to graduate. Then you get to participate in the commencement ceremony, which is a lot of fun. As far as ensuring your success at Cal State East Bay, there's some things that you can do. If I haven't said this enough already, your graduate coordinator is your main resource for program-related questions. They know everything about your program, all the classes, they know exactly what you should do in all situations. So you should be familiar with their email address and their phone number, so you can call them whenever you need to talk about any issue. Again, please be very careful that you do monitor your Horizon email account regularly, because that's where all your official communications go. You don't want to miss an important message and not see it until it's too late. My CSUEB is your portal for adding and dropping classes and paying fees and all the rest of that stuff, so be familiar with that. Blackboard is our learning management system where you're going to access the materials for all your classes and typically submit your assignments and all the rest of that stuff, so be familiar with that. And finally, the University Catalog is our contract with you, so be familiar with what is expected of you and what you can expect of us. In terms of forms, you may need to submit the main things that you would need to worry about really is applying for graduation on time and adding and dropping classes, both done through My CSUEB. Hopefully you won't have to worry about withdrawal or other sorts of requests, but if you do, your graduate coordinator in your department office can help you with those. A few other things that I've said many times is talk to your faculty advisor if you have one, talk to your grad coordinators, take the opportunity to talk to your instructors. They are here to help you learn and earn your degree, so they should be able to answer any questions you have. Again, you don't have to worry about the university writing skills requirements, so that's fantastic. I do suggest that you don't take too many classes during your first semester. A full-time load for a graduate student is 8 units per semester. And you may think to yourself, oh, I'm used to taking 5 or 6 classes at a time in my undergrad program, but grad classes typically are more challenging and are expected to be more work than undergrad classes. So it might be better to kind of start off slow in your first semester. Then you might think, I was actually able to handle 3 classes at once. I'll go ahead and take 4 classes in the next semester. That's a good way to do things, rather than trying to take 4 or more classes in your first semester, and then maybe you find out you really couldn't handle that load, and you end up with some D's, and your GPA is causing you some concern. So start out slow and work from there. I should point out that some programs, especially in the College of Education, work in the cohort model, where all students are expected to take the same set of classes at the same time. In this case, you would not have a choice about how many units to take. So talk to your grad coordinator or department to find out if this is the case for you. Really, whenever you're in doubt, talk to your grad coordinator or your instructor. We want you to be successful and to help you with any roadblocks that you encounter. Let's see, please do try to develop a good support system here at Cal State East Bay. Basically, all studies ever done have shown that people who work in study groups and get to know other students are more successful in their programs. Your fellow students can help you with questions and can help you study more efficiently. So get together with other people, virtually at this point, but do it to whatever extent that you can. All of our Blackboard sections have discussion boards that allow you to communicate with other students. So please make use of that feature. Finally, have a good time. Hopefully, when we do get back onto campus, there's typically tons of activities that are available for students, including going to our exercise center, and then there's concerts that we have and all kinds of functions. Even now, there are online functions being held, so try to participate in those. In computer science, we have webinars where outside researchers will come in and give talks, and I know that they have those in physics and other departments as well. So look and see if there's a club or other activity where you can get involved and talk to other people to build connections and make your time here even more exciting. All right, again, I wish you the best of luck in graduate school, and I hopefully will be seeing you around. Have a great semester.